Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome into the Volquest Mailbag Podcast. I'm Eric Cain, alongside Grant Ramey, Austin Price, and Brent Hubbs. I appreciate you guys sending in your questions here this week as Tennessee's preparing to host Arkansas, 4:15 Eastern Time, Saturday afternoon on the SEC Network. We got you covered all week long here at the end of the week up to kickoff, during the game, and all the reaction you could possibly need or want over at Volquest.com as football season continues. Tennessee fresh off the bye, Arkansas fresh off the bye, and a lot of changes for the Hogs. Will it make a difference coming into Knoxville? We will find out. A lot of questions to get into. Let's start with HeupelMyLord. Do you believe that Ricky Gibson plays for Tennessee next year?
Yeah, I do. I don't think he's going to be able to go pro, and I think it'll behoove Tennessee to, get him back, and that's just my feelings on it. I think Ricky will be back.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to the NFL. I don't think there's enough tangible there for him. He needed to have a good year to really help his draft stock, the weight thing and all that. So unless he decides to go play somewhere else, I think he's back at Tennessee, unless he's just really tired of college and wants to take his chance with the NFL. But I don't think that's going to – he'll put his name in for evaluation, but I don't think the evaluation will be high enough for him to really have a decision to make.
Let's go to Jack RG22. What do y'all anticipate the rotation being on the defensive line now that everyone is healthy? Got to figure something out to make sure that Tyree West is still getting enough snaps, even if Dominic Bailey kicks back outside. And then there's a question for Austin on Jermon McCoy. Let's hit this defensive line question first. The rotation, what do you guys envision now with Hobbs returning, Boys back in the fold as well?
Moy and Easton that tackles. Dom Bailey will play inside some, but be back outside at strong side defensive end. Hobbs, Nathan Robinson, will be options 3 and 4. A much deeper interior defensive line unit in the middle, which I think ultimately helps everything, right, Hobbs?
Well, and I think, Grant, I think the question, look, getting those guys back on the inside is huge because Rodney Garner wants to rotate. You don't want Eason and Bailey and those guys inside to play 60 snaps. I do think what is interesting is what does the rotation look like at strong side defensive end if you slide Bailey back out there? Because now you got Bailey, you got Weathersby, you got West, you got Marion Dye, who you felt like was coming on pretty good until the injury cost him the Mississippi State game. So, it's one thing to have 5 or 6 guys for 2 positions on the inside, but now you're talking about 4 or 5 guys for 1 position on the outside at the strong side defensive end spot.
Good problem to have, right? You'd rather have too many bodies than not enough bodies. I don't know. But competition is going to bring out the best in somebody, so play the best guy and see what kind of production you can get, how consistently you can get it.
Yeah, I think if West keeps playing the way he's played in 2 SEC games, then I don't think you have to worry about West losing snaps, right, Ken?
Hard to take him off the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Second part of the question for Austin, what does your gut say on if Jermon McCoy plays again this season?
I don't know because ultimately he's got, as we've all talked about on the board, and Hubbs has beat the drum louder than anybody until he plays until he goes to the practice field in a team period. It's a much about nothing. The moment it's kind of like David Sanders, like you can be out because you don't pass the strength test, then boom, strength's back and he's ready to go, right? Like this same way, just a different deal. Like he's a non-factor until he goes to a team period. The moment he goes to a team period, all that shifts hard the other direction. So I think that's we'll see what happens, but that's kind of where it's at.
But until then, it's impossible to answer. Correct. Because if you do say, I think he's going to come back then your name is attached to saying, I think he's going to come back then. And if he doesn't come back then, it gets thrown back at you later on. It's impossible. Some questions we can't tell the future, unfortunately.
Southerner 98, why snub Johnny Majors out of championship corner? I realize he did not win a natty, but neither did Dickey. No one counts the 67 season as a national championship around here. Seems weird to snub him on the weekend where the 85 Sugar Vols are being honored.
Yeah, I think the timing of it, obviously, they're going to honor Coach Dickey this weekend. He's going to be here as a part of this deal, and obviously it's Champions Weekend where the 85 team is honored and the 90 team is honored. That's 2 of Coach Majors' teams that won SEC championships. I think these things are always hard. And I don't have an answer for why. I know what they put out in the release and saying they're honoring a trio of coaches who were also College Football Hall of Famers who won titles. The Lichtinghouse title in '67 is not really recognized by a lot of people. But I think these are always hard, Grant, when you're talking about how you honor somebody, retiring numbers, retiring jerseys. What's the criteria that you put in? Because inevitably, when you put in some criteria that you come up with, it's going to snub someone. And there's no perfect way to do it. This one is, and I'm 51, so this one's, a little bit different, I guess, than it is for some other people. But as someone who grew up following Tennessee and watching closely, I knew three names as coaches. You knew General Neyland because the stadium's named after him. Now, contrary to what some people on this podcast like to say, I did not cover any of General Neyland's teams, but I did know who he was, Grant.
You were just a student at the time.
Then growing up, you know who Coach Majors is. And then obviously the 90s or the 90s with Coach Fulmer. Those were the three names that you knew if you're around my age as Tennessee coaches. No offense to Bowden White. No offense to, to Bill Battle or some others. I mean, you knew Dickey more so because he created the T, checkerboard end zones, a lot of the traditions that you like. And then he came back as an AD. So when he came back as an AD, there was always talk about him as a coach. You knew those three guys. Those were kind of the three separators from everybody else. But again, when you're putting parameters on it, somebody's always going to get left out. I don't have a good reason for why that's the case here.
It's almost like a 4-team playoff. There's always a 5th team left out. 12-team playoff. There's a 13th team left out. 16-team playoff. 76-team NCAA tournament. There's going to be a 77th team that gets left out. Like there's always going to be. Yeah, I agree. There should be some majors way to honor him at some point at the stadium down the road, but I guess it's not now, but maybe it happens in the future. Who knows?
On that note, here's my question for the podcast. Grant, when's that thing going to 96?
Oh boy.
Why?
Let's just
why?
go straight to 3 whatever the number is, 315, or I can't even remember what the Division I number is, 354. I don't know what it is.
I mean, maybe it's better for the game for those for an extra weekend or whatever in March. But, who's going to get left? I mean, I know somebody's going to get left out, but now the teams that are going to get left out are going to have losing conference records. Right. And I don't think you should get in with a losing conference record. I don't know. I don't really know why you need to expand it anymore. I guess there's more money there for the NCAA, but to me, that waters down the regular season. I don't think the college football playoff waters down the regular season.
Right.
There's so many, there's so many teams in such a small field. I think when you start getting to this number, man, you're really watering down the impact. Remember, it used to be like 20 win season and winning record in conference play to get in and all that. Now you don't even think about getting in. It's like, okay. I mean, how do you not get in, right? If you're paying the money they're paying at the Power 5 schools, how do you get left out of the NCAA tournament if the field's going to be this big?
It's also just the feel of it. Like we know the first round is Thursday and Friday, and everybody plays, and we're so used to that first weekend of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So many games noon to night that we've watched for years. It's almost like your body clock is going to be all messed up trying to figure out who's playing in the first round, what's the bye setup look like? Does everybody play in the first round? What's the bracket look? We're just so used to it. It's almost like that COVID year they played the Masters in what was it, like September, November? And it just felt weird. Like it's cool they brought it back, but it was different. It's just going to feel different.
I mean, 3/4 of the teams on the bubble every year do not deserve to be in the dance, and like all those teams in this scenario would be in there. So
sorry, Southerner 98. We went from championship corner to the NCAA tournament somehow. My fault.
Let's go to Sam Smith 2233. 2 questions. How do you expect Tennessee to counter that quarterback run game that Bobby Petrino loves to do?
I mean, I think you got to try to funnel him and not let him outside the pocket. I mean, I think that's the biggest challenge. And when you look at Tennessee's defensive struggles in defending the run, it's been the stuff out wide more than it has been between the tackles. So I think Tennessee's got to limit, the quarterback sweep. They got to limit the stretch run play. Obviously, they've got to stay home on the zone read stuff. And you're trying not to let Taylen Green get outside the tackle box. Tennessee gave up right at 100 yards to Mississippi State outside the tackle box and right at 100 yards to Georgia outside the tackle box. They got to funnel it back into the middle and try to squeeze him that way, in my opinion.
Isn't it odd that Tennessee struggles have been on the edge when in reality they're been rail thin in the middle? Is it odd?
Yeah, I mean, they've given up some stuff in the middle, but yeah, I mean, they've not. And I know I've used the word set the edge way too much this week, but the fact of the matter is, it's been a soft corner. It's been easy to get the corner on Tennessee in the run game, and it's also been a factor when they throw the little perimeter screens out there as well. Tennessee's got to play defense outside the hashes better than they have to this point this season.
Yeah, I think poor angles from the second and third layer specifically kind of contribute to that a lot. I mean, a couple of times this year, man, Idris Farouk will come down there on fire and reads it, reacts to it great, just takes a poor angle and then causes him to be behind the ball carrier or missing a tackle or whatever it is. I think that has something to do with it as well. I don't think you live in this, but everybody likes to say, oh, he got a quarterback spy him, right? I mean, Tennessee plays enough man coverage to where you can afford to have a backer or a safety come down and a pirate coverage and maybe spy at certain points in times, especially on third downs. I mean, I was talking to somebody that covers Arkansas, and they call it third and green, right? Third and 8, third and 9, third and 10. Taylen Green's just going to go make a play. Could you spy a quarterback in that situation at points in times? Because he's going to make a lot of things happen for sure. Don't live in it, but obviously can roll it out there at points in time. And Tennessee did a good job defending him in the run game last year. He was dropping dimes down the sideline, but Tennessee did a really good job defending him last year in the run game.
What do we think about him as a pro prospect? I mean, he just feels like the kind of kid that ends up being an NFL starter to me. The size, he throws it well enough. He obviously moves super well. You see that sometimes with NFL quarterbacks that they might play on an average to below average college team, but they just got a lot of talent, and then they find their way to the right team and take off.
He looks from a prototypical quarterback. He's 6'6". He's huge. And he can grow. He can still put on some weight. He's got the frame to do so, and I think he throws a good ball. I think he runs well enough. And I mean, I'm with you. He's an older guy, right? He spent 2 years at Boise. So is this his fourth year? I mean, he's not an incredibly old guy. So, I mean, I could certainly see him having a pro career and eventually kind of stepping into a role like that.
I mean, you got Chop calling him tall Michael Vick. What was that?
Or
Tuesday,
Vince Young.
Right? What was the other one? Yeah, Vince Young. That was the one I couldn't think of. I think it should be noted that they scored 19 points last year in Fayetteville. That was a different Tennessee defense, but Bobby Petrino was A&M's coordinator in 2023 when they scored 13 points here, and they didn't have great quarterback play that day that I remember. But it's not like the 49 that Bobby scored on them in 2011. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at both of those games, Grant, one thing that stands out is that both the A&M game and then the Arkansas game last year, they had a hard time up front. Tennessee's defensive front did a good both those offensive lines. And can Tennessee get home with some pressure there? I mean, I think it's a great year for Taylen Green to come out, to go pro, because
Agreed.
I mean, he's not going to go high in the draft, but somebody's going to be looking to see if they can catch lightning in a bottle later on in the draft with quarterbacks, because there's not 3 or 4 guys that are battling, who's going to be the number 1 overall pick at quarterback. It's is there a first round quarterback pick right now?
Indiana guy's been mocked very high.
Okay.
And I can't even tell you his name off the top of my head.
He's been mocked as number 1.
And top 5, top 10-ish. So
Mendoza.
I agree. It's a good year to come out.
I mean, because all the ones that the national media loved up, Klubnik, Nussmeier, Arch,
Sellers.
They've been Sellers. They've been
Eller at Penn State.
Aller. We just keep going. Right when we think we're done, somebody else throws out another name.
Yeah, what I mean, it's not been real good quarterback. Not from the people who were supposed to play well. They haven't played particularly well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Second part of our baseball question. Cain, this baseball team is young. Give me 2 freshmen you expect to have a big impact in SEC play. I think the 2 that are obvious would be Ethan Moore. I've liked what I've seen from Ethan Moore, a guy that nobody thought was going to get to campus simply because I think he just kind of had pro on his mind, and the way the draft kind of unfolded for him, he's here, and man, you're thrilled that he's here. I think he has a really good opportunity to play a big role, maybe at second base. We'll see if he can, lock down a job, as fall and of course preseason winter goes on. Cam Appenzeller, one of those two lefties we talked about the entire draft process. You got him here. Pitching against some big time hitters. He's been knocked around a little bit, but man, his stuff is really impressive. And he's Tony was talking on, I think it was with Vince and John, last week, and he said he's been everything we thought we would see from him so far this fall. We've seen, and kind of seen him lock down and do the little battles with the hitters has been cool. So those are the two obvious ones. I'll throw another one out there that I think is going to play a big role. And really just two, because they're two-way players, and in this day and age, you've got to have two-way players to come in here and eat an inning, in the weekends or midweek or whatever. Evan Hankins can rake. I don't know if he'll ever play the field like as a true freshman. He can rake as a hitter, and he's looked good on the mound as well. And Taylor Tracy as well. Both those guys have gone yard a couple of times so far this fall. So I gave you four names. The two obvious ones, Ethan Moore, Cam Appenzeller, but look at those two-way players, Evan Hankins and Taylor Tracy.
Before we went for it, I want to give Eric a lot of love. He eats and breathes this baseball stuff. He knows these guys like Matt knows recruiting. Big props to you, big guy. And I'm not being facetious at all. I'm being very real. These names, and I'm like, who is he talking about? I'll learn them in February. You do a fantastic job.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. All right, we're gonna move on now.
I'm gonna speak for Sam Smith, Eric, and say you suck.
Yeah. Sam's gonna come back with I suck.
I just wanna keep you grounded.
Never too high, never too low.
It was okay. It could have been better. It was okay.
Now that we know the single portal period for January is the 2nd through the 16th, how do we imagine this look? Still have a pretty good gauge nationally on prospects who will enter and be done, and will be a done deal as soon as they enter, or will there be some serious recruiting battles that will play out that'll lead up to National Signing Day many years ago?
Oh, I don't. Go ahead, Amy.
Go ahead.
I don't think you're going to have a National Signing Day vibe to it. There's too many agents involved, too many third-party people involved that are going to know. If you don't know who's going in the portal in December, if you don't know that they're going in until they go in officially in January, you're late to the party. If you want them, you're just too late to the party. So I don't think it's going to be this month-long recruitment of guys. I think all of the name guys, the people that are going to be coveted, they're all going to know where they're going before they enter the portal.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of groundwork laid in December before kids can go in behind the scenes, and then. You got that 2-week window to go in, and then, I guess, you have a certain limit on time to make a decision just based off of, getting school started. But yeah, I've said this. I think there's going to be more kids going this year than ever before, only because I think there's going to be there's no second window. There's no hey, let's go through spring. If you have any doubt in your mind, or the agent presents any doubt in your mind, you're probably going to go ahead and go and not take the chance, because if you're not feeling like you're going to get a fair shot at your current school, why would you stick around to go through, to give that a shot when you're locked in for another year if you do?
Vols Forever 901. Speaking of the portal, what does the process look like for our coaching staff? Will they wait until the regular season to self-scout and determine needs, or do they already have an idea of what positions they need to strengthen? I would assume the latter, right? They got a pretty good idea of where they want to attack in the portal.
All right, here's my soapbox. If whoever you're paying to be in charge of roster retention, roster addition, is not spending 365 days out of the year on their work schedule, evaluating your current roster from the standpoint of who's talented enough that you want to keep, who you have on a small deal that's going to ask you for a larger deal, who you have on too big of a deal that you don't want to pay them that much more. If you're not looking at all of this year-round, you're late. You're out.
Yep.
You cannot wait and decide in December when the season's over, oh, hey, I think we need 3 secondary players. That's too late. You should know right now what you need, what you're targeting in the portal. You should be evaluating kids at places where they're not winning very much, where maybe you had a tie to the kid previously and you have a third party ability to have a conversation with someone. You have to work on this every day, all the time. If you're waiting to December, it's over. You're way too late. You're not going to get done what you need to get done in the portal.
All right, GM Brent Hubbs, give me the 3 positions Tennessee's got to target in the portal. Go.
Well, I think you got to have, I think, defensive backs. I think you look at the safety spot, where they're at. They don't have enough depth there. I think that's one. I think you have to figure out where you're at offensive tackle. Who's coming back? Is everybody coming back? What does that position look like as you flip David Sanders to left tackle next year? And you're probably playing Jesse out there. Who's your 3rd and 4th tackle? Where do you feel comfortable with that position? So there would be 2 of the spots that I think would be the biggest priority for Tennessee when you look at this. And then can you find a 3rd quarterback who's a safety net for you? I think that's something that you have to at least have on your brain at this point in time as certainly a possibility.
Can you find a Harrison Bailey, a kid who's willing to take a payday, that knows he's not going to be the guy, that is okay and content to be the backup, that is serviceable, like that? Florida's, I think he's still number 3 on their depth chart according to Billy Napier a few weeks ago. But I mean, it's a kid who's played a little bit in college. I mean, Tennessee could sure use that. A year from now, somebody like that.
Hubbard said 365 days a year. This poor guy's working Christmas
Eve.
Right.
That's exactly right. He's got to work all the time, Grant. You're no days off.
It's like Silence of the Lambs. He's got a well in the basement. He's got this guy trapped in it.
Well, I mean, that's probably too many days. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that happens. What it looks like on Christmas Eve might be different on Christmas Day.
Oh yeah,
because a kid could make a decision Christmas Eve night with his family. Hey, I'm going to go in the portal. So you have to be thinking all the time of who are potential losses, who's out there that you can replace them with, who you're going to pay, who you're not going to pay. That's the job.
Or you could be Jeremy Banks and announce you're moving on at 11 p.m. on Christmas Eve. Yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody.
You could do that too.
Hubbs doesn't even want to let them have like the Costco schedule, which is like 6 days off.
No.
All year round.
Just like a Tennessee bye week, always have to have your guard up. Because you could have rumors to San Francisco for Tony Vitello, right? So always got to walk through life.
Didn't he go?
To my knowledge, he did not go. No, he did not go. Football season is rolling right along. Fresh off the bye week and back in action this weekend at Neyland Stadium against Arkansas. Finally, the temperature's starting to cool down a little bit. Feels like fall, and you want to be decked out to the nines, right? You want to be decked out in style. Going to Neyland Stadium this weekend, and you can do that with our friends over at Home Field Apparel. That's the exclusive apparel sponsor of Volquest.com. Can't miss Kickoff 2025 campaign. You can get football boxes, coaching jackets, bomber jackets, and more of these football boxes. If you can see, it's right over my right shoulder, that can't miss kickoff box there in my backdrop. What you have in there, never before seen items from the University of Tennessee. They're not available anywhere else. Coaches jackets, bomber jackets, stuff like that, curated so fans have new gear to wear all season long, suitable for all weather conditions as well. They specialize, this being Home Field, in vintage college designs, and I've showed you a lot of the shirts that they've sent me, and they are beautiful, long sleeve. The material's awesome. Back-to-back SEC championships, in the 90s, national championship T-shirts, the old, the logos and all that and more. It's beautiful work over there for the Tennessee selection at Home Field Apparel. Go see what I'm talking about today. HomefieldApparel.com to get started. That is HomefieldApparel.com today to get started. When you rep your team, don't stop at just the jersey. Dollar Shave Club's Collegiate Razor, it handles combined grooming and glory, letting students, grads, and fans show their school spirit and style. From the sink to the stadium, shave with school pride. Visit Dollar Shave Club to grab your college handle today, and go Vols. All right, before anybody takes our words and twists them, let's go to DaleEllisFan. Is 2027 in-state quarterback Andre Adams on Tennessee's board? If so, where is he?
He is, and I don't know where he's at on the board. As far as he's someone Tennessee's continued to evaluate. Tennessee, like the quarterback of Milton, he got hurt early in the year. I don't know where he's at in the recovery process, but there's a few quarterbacks Tennessee's been looking at, through through the early fall and early high school season.
Nashville 615. Best shot to win in Tuscaloosa since when? Alabama plays Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, then Tennessee. I feel extremely confident that by the time we roll into Tuscaloosa, Alabama will be licking their wounds.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Tennessee led at the half down there by double digits 2 years ago. I mean, like they were not very good in the second half and let Jalen Milroe and a couple other guys beat them, but 2 years ago. I mean,
Grant, here's where I'm at on this. Like, I mean, not only big wins over Georgia and Vanderbilt, emotional wins over Georgia, Vanderbilt. What does Missouri present this week? I'm so intrigued by this because all Missouri can do is play the cards dealt so far, and they've done that and look good. Still, how good is Missouri? I have no clue. Good tailback, pretty decent quarterback. Very much a litmus test. It's at home. What kind of fight does? I mean, it's. I think Alabama's favored by like 2.5, 3 points on the road. Like, it's supposed to be a good game. Will it be? I don't know. What does Missouri give? And then, of course, I think that gives more validation to the question. Potentially three emotional, close, big time wins, and then Tennessee comes into town. That could play a factor.
Yeah, the extremely confident part in the question depends on what happens at Missouri, because it's one thing to get up for that Georgia game and to win on the road and be as impressive as Alabama was in that game. They had something to prove against Vanderbilt after what happened last year in Nashville. So does this train just kind of keep rolling on at Missouri and they keep playing really well? Do they revert back to more like what they were week one at Florida State? I don't know if I'd ever feel extremely confident going into Tuscaloosa just based on what going into Tuscaloosa means and what you're usually going to face down there. But we'll see what happens Saturday at Missouri and then kind of gauge the vibe from there, because a lot for me depends on that.
Knowing what we know at this point in the season, do you think our staff wishes they took 2 to 3 more players from the portal? And if so, at what positions?
Well, I mean, you didn't know you were going to deal with some of the injuries that you had in the secondary. And even without injuries, Austin, probably a safety, take a safety somewhere just to have some depth there. They only trust 2 guys back there right now. I mean, Caleb Beasley's trying, but and is getting some play, but like how much play does he get Saturday will tell you a lot about where their trust is. Are they just going to ride with Turrentine and Farouk? Because I don't think Sidney Walton, they're pushing there, but I don't think he's ready to come into a lot of big time situations. I mean, you might steal 6-10 snaps out of that, but not any kind of real snaps. I mean, Turrentine's going to play 60 to 80 snaps Saturday. Farouk's going to play 60 to 80 snaps Saturday.
Yeah, I think in the right world, they probably would have ponied up a little bit more for Jacoby Thomas to stay, but that is kind of what it is. I mean, it's not like Jacoby was some world beater last year. I mean, he had plenty of issues in the back end, but I do think, he would have helped this team, especially in the back end, would have helped, provide depth, spell guys, just been another quality player in the back end of the defense.
Well, maybe even Christian Harrison, if he'd been willing to move to safety. They need a safety who plays space better. And I like Jacoby Thomas, but they've got downhill guys. They need sideline to sideline, more sideline to sideline ability at the safety position, in my opinion.
Yeah.
More than they do another big bodied safety who could play basically outside linebacker, which is what the Rams are doing with Jalen McCullough, by the way. If you haven't watched the NFL, sideline to sideline guy.
I know a lot of people were like, just checking in on Jacoby Thomas every week and saying, Tennessee could use him. I'm in the camp, and Austin just kind of pointed out. I mean, I'm in the camp like Tennessee should not have overpaid for him last year whatsoever, because he was not even above average here last year, in my opinion. Now, hindsight's 20/20. You can't predict what's to come, but certainly you would like to have him this year for sure. But I agree with the Christian Harrison notion. They were moving him to safety before in camp. He had to go down and play nickelback because of the injury to Jordan Thomas last year. So I think he could have possibly helped as well. Also, to show you where they think Caleb Beasley is right now, he and Sidney Walton both played 8 snaps on the road at Mississippi State. So it's a 2-man show back there for sure. Randy G77, I will certainly miss hearing money on the Vol Hoots broadcast this year, assuming Mike Keith has not decided to go go at it alone. Any thoughts or preferences as to who might be the new color analyst and what appears to be an exciting upcoming hoop season? Would you think Steve Hammer or the field?
Steve Hammer or the field?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do there. I mean, I've not been privy to any conversations on what Mike's plan is on the basketball broadcast. I know there have been a lot of meetings and discussions and conversations.
Are you doing it
with people? I am not doing it, but I don't know what direction they're going to go there.
Hey, Hubs, repeat after me. Money. Do it. Just so say you can do it.
I don't think we're going to have a money call. I think the era of the money calls has come and gone. And Bert Bertelkamp was fantastic in that role and what he did. Bert has wanted to retire for several years, but decided to go out with Bob at the same time. But he was certainly entertaining and fun to listen to in that basketball broadcast for sure.
I mean, I can hear it now. Mike makes the call. Hubs goes, stacking points, baby. Stacking points.
Hubs is not going to be on the basketball broadcast, AP.
Hubs, we're just having fun, man. We're using your stacking days thing. We're adding
but here's the thing. Eric said it best. Some people only listen to partial words, and then all of a sudden you got something going on out there, AP.
Oh.
So you have to put some qualifiers and clarifying out there, right?
You're telling the guy where I say Tennessee blank, and then all of a sudden it gets twisted 16 different ways on Twitter or on the message.
I saw the thread earlier this week, and I didn't open it, but I kind of hovered around it just to read the first sentence or whatever. And it was the Volquest catchphrases, and it said preseason stacking days has turned into midseason stealing snaps. And I'm like, I can't read this because I can't. I'm just gonna laugh. And
it's good. It's a good thread.
I bet it is.
The growth plates are open.
I couldn't read it because I know that there's yeah, that's true. That's true. Yep, that's true.
Yep, exactly right.
Oh, all right. Zjsvols, SEC Carnage. What do you think about this week? Bama 2.5-point favorite on the road at Dorkwitz Field. Grant, quickly, what do you look at that? What do you like about that game?
Probably trust Alabama more, even though they're going on the road right now, just based on what we've seen from them in recent weeks. But about the time you start thinking that's when the opposite happens.
Georgia 3.5-point favorite on the road at the Barn against Auburn.
I think Auburn might play with them. I think that's a close football game. It was a couple of years ago. I think Auburn could steal that one.
Texas, UT Junior, a 1.5-point favorite. 1.5-point favorite against Oklahoma. I think the story of that game is John Mateer. Does he play, and how is he used? Right? I mean, he can't be as effective as he once was if he's playing in this game.
I don't think he's playing.
Yeah,
I think that would be really poor, a really bad decision on Oklahoma's part to play him. Texas can't score against a lot of defenses. Grant, are they going to score against arguably the best defense in the country right now in Oklahoma? It's probably not. I think if you're Oklahoma, you probably feel like if you can get to 17 points, it's a win for you in this game. Can you get to 17 without Mateer? You probably feel like you can. So that series has been a bit weird, but I don't think Texas can score enough in that game. That's even without Mateer. That's why I think Oklahoma, with where Texas's offense is, I like Oklahoma there.
2 lost Texas too. It's fight or flight time for them.
It is. But man, they just look. It just looks really rough on offense right now. It looks really, really hard on offense. Mm-hmm. And to get well on offense, you need to play a softer defense. And they went from playing a good defense at Florida to playing a really good defense against Oklahoma.
All I know is if Texas goes up and runs up a bunch more losses, let's say they lose this weekend, Georgia, all of a sudden they're sitting there 4 or 5 losses with the cakest schedule of all time. This conference gave them the first 2 years in the league. Like, that's a bad look for Sark. I mean, again, so much of this media narrative, preseason teams, Penn State, Texas, Clemson, quarterbacks, we talked about that earlier, Sarkisian and him being the offensive genius. I think he's a good offensive coach. But, like, I don't think it's just like, oh, he's the end-all, be-all. Like some of the national guys love to push out there about Sarkisian. I just think that's a rough stretch there for Texas. To me, this is I won't say it. I think it's a do or die just from not just from the longevity of the Longhorns. I don't mean like long term, but I mean like over the next year or two, they need a win like this to kind of slow down the negative vibes.
You know what everybody missed about Texas, and put me in that camp too, because I didn't deep dive into them. But Eric, their offensive line was just okay last year. They were not a great offensive line. I mean, they at points in times they played well. They played better in the playoff run. But you go back and watch the Vanderbilt game. I mean, Texas had all kinds of issues up front on that offensive line a year ago. That got masked because of all the hype with Arch, that it would kind of fix all of that. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, the last 2 years in this league, their offensive line play has not been good enough in the line of scrimmage to where you need it against the better teams in this league.
It looked horrible against Florida's front. I'll watch Oklahoma play Auburn. Yikes. And so I think that the battle of the trenches in this game, going back to Oklahoma's defense, that conversation is going to be something to look out for in this game. On that note, Florida got the win last week. Going to do it again, plus 7.5 on the road against A&M. I'm not sold A&M offensively, but A&M defense is really good.
I think this game's close. I think A&M wins, but I think they win by a touchdown or less. I think this is a close football game.
LSU is a near 10-point favorite over South Carolina in a game that I felt like in the offseason was so hyped up because of those quarterbacks, right? Sellers, Nussmeier, everybody was talking about. And, there's 3 other games I'm way more intrigued in than this one on the schedule this weekend.
Yeah, 10 seems a lot, but what is a night game in Baton Rouge worth points-wise versus, we've seen an 11 a.m. kickoff if you go down there and put LSU on their heels early in the day, what it can look like. How much is that night kickoff worth? Just like Auburn and Georgia, too, that being a 7 or 7:30 game makes a difference to me versus a noon or a 3:30.
Yeah, I mean, Nussmeier's averaging 7 yards of completion. And I know Brian Kelly has downplayed whatever this injury is that he's dealing with, but he is not throwing the ball well. Is that injury related or what? But Seth, they're very pedestrian in their passing game right now with him at 7 yards of completion is what they're averaging.
Isn't his injury to his abdomen, to his core?
Yeah, it's something with his torso.
I mean, here's the thing: if the bye week didn't help him, you got to make a move. He's not getting it done right now. Clearly, he's being held back for something. So,
who?
Nussmeier. Their backup is the former Mississippi State quarterback, Van Buren or whatever. So I don't know. How much rest, how much recovery did the bye week help him? Maybe we'll see this weekend. But he's clearly not right. That's for sure.
Hey, Cain, you ever been to Van Buren County?
I have not.
There's a gentleman down there that has a big orange elephant that's the legit size of an elephant in his front yard. Daryl Hobby and I went to the story on that years ago.
I've heard this story. I didn't see the package, but I've heard you tell the story before.
Little factoid for you, though. In Van Buren County, my one and only trip to Van Buren.
Has he added a big orange dog to his big orange elephant in the front yard?
I know where there's a big orange dog at. If he would like to make a bid on it, they might sell it to him.
I am told on the opposite side of Neyland Stadium that they're going to do Dooley's Stool, Pruitt's Gator, and Butch's Trash Can. I guess we could add the orange dog to it as well. Dooley could have 2 facts on the other side.
They don't want that stuff in the founder suites?
What are we calling that? What are we calling that? What corner are we calling that?
Waste management.
Junk corner. Waste management.
You can sell it. Get a sponsorship. Come on.
We'll have it sponsored by Eastman. Good sports always recycle over on that.
Kind of on the SEC Carnage question. This is from Tenn, Ken, 1961. Who should Tennessee be rooting for this weekend? Obviously, UCLA and Nico did teams like Tennessee a favor, knocking off Penn State. A couple ranked teams lost in front of Tennessee last week. That's why, even despite the bye, they moved up in the AP. Who should Tennessee be rooting for this weekend?
I would tell you they root for Florida and Alabama, because I think you still have to play those teams yourself. And you look at Missouri's schedule, it's just not that difficult. If they get this win, who's going to get to them to 2 to 3 losses between here now and the end of the year? Same thing with Texas A&M. Now, Texas A&M's got a little tougher road than Missouri. But I think if you're Tennessee, you want Florida and Alabama, 2 teams you love to hate, for them to win this weekend, because I just think you want to start to eliminate some of those teams that have cushier games. I've said for a week or two now, I think South Carolina playing the role of spoiler against teams like Ole Miss and Oklahoma and stuff like that matters as well. But specifically this weekend, if I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm rooting for Florida and I'm rooting for Alabama, which is hard.
DavyVol, more likely to be on the roster next season, Colton Hood or Boo Carter? I think this is a really good question.
Well, I'll tell you Colton Hood, and I think he's probably going to go pro.
Yeah.
I'm taking the field. I'm not taking either one of them.
Colton Hood continues to be mocked in the first round of some NFL drafts. One I've looked at this week, he was about 10 spots higher than Jermod McCoy. Yeah, should put my hood up when I'm talking about Colton Hood. That's a big deal. Hard to come back from that.
West Tennessean, a lot of hype surrounding Nate Ament. Coach Rick Barnes heaped some praise, which he effectively never does for a freshman. Is he legitimately the kind of player we can hitch our wagon to and have him carry us to the promised land?
Well, he's a 5-star consensus top 5, highest ranked recruit to ever sign with Tennessee. So either you can hitch your wagon to him or the evaluation process was failed by a lot of people along the way. I mean, he's in the conversation to be a top 5 pick in the NBA draft.
If there's ever a player to hitch it to, yeah.
Highest paid NIL athlete in Tennessee history.
And it's not all going to be Nate Ament. Like you happen to have a point guard replacing Zakai Ziegler, who might be the only guy in the country who you could look at and be like, all right, I think Tennessee's going to be okay at point guard moving on from the Zakai Ziegler era because of how good Jacoby Gillespie was at Maryland, at Belmont, what he's done in his career. So, and they're bringing back guys in the post, and they've added some veteran help in the backcourt and stuff like that. So it's not going to be just Nate Ament, but there is a feeling that he's going to have to kind of pick up where DK left off and Chaz Lanier left off, just in terms of production and usage and all that stuff.
Grant, I have 2 questions. Can I ask my mailbag question here?
Brent underscore Hubs. Go ahead.
It is Ament or is it Ament?
It is. I have no idea. I've just always said Ament, and I've assumed I was right, so I don't know.
Okay. And are we calling Jacoby or Kobe?
He goes by Kobe more casually. His
but
friends
I don't know
and
him
coaches.
Casually, so I call him Jacoby is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
What's his mom call him?
She probably calls him Jacoby. His dad calls him both.
Always go with the mom's pronunciation, right? Bonus question, you kind of answered it right there, but again, what should Tennessee fans expect out of Jacoby at point guard this year? Been a long time since it wasn't Zakai Ziegler.
I mean, he's just been very productive, very efficient. I mean, he took a Maryland team to the Sweet 16 last year. He's obviously a Greenville, Tennessee kid that's having a homecoming here where he gets to kind of play it for the program he always dreamed about playing for. I think it's a little bit different when guys have to climb the ladder and go to Belmont and go to Maryland and then end up at Tennessee. I think that makes a difference, but I think maybe he shoots it a little bit better than Zakai ever shot it, which is no slight on Zakai. We know how productive he was and how good he was for 4 years here, but I don't know defensively how Jacoby compares to Zakai because he was such a pest defensively as Zakai was. So, but it feels like the one player, if you're going to go out and try to replace Zakai Ziegler, Jacoby Gillespie would be the guy that you would want stepping in.
Hey, Hubs, is it Eric or Eric? We've been trying to figure that out at media availabilities for years.
Hey, Ron.
Depends on what Sam you ask.
That's a good rebuttal.
Oh, yeah, dude.
All right, so another awesome handle here. We have HeupelMyLord.
I have it so good right there.
We go from HeupelMyLord is one of my favorite handles to your wife's pool boy. Your wife's pool boy wants to know, going forward, do we see early in-season coaching firings becoming the norm? These kids seem to be trapped, nowhere to go in season. New coaching search and recruiting classes aside, this may be the easiest way to stem the flow of players entering the portal and transferring.
No, I mean, I don't think it stems it because the new transfer rules that came out says you've got that period of time you can enter the portal after the new coach is hired, which, again, that you can look at it 2 ways, Grant. Like, one, that maybe can help the school to go ahead and fire their coach because it doesn't mean people are bailing on you because you can't enter the portal right afterwards. But you're not stuck if you hire a coach. It may be outside of the portal window because there's a period of time where they can meet with the new coach and go, okay, it's a bad fit for me, I can leave. So because of that, I don't think it stems or stymies the flow of transfer whenever you make coaching changes.
No, I don't think so either. Changes are going to happen. Player change, personnel changes, roster changes are going to happen with any coaching change. That's just part of it. I think what does change moving forward in the NIL landscape is, can you really afford massive buyouts for coaches when you're trying to pay a roster? Like James Franklin is like $56 million. There's Kalen DeBoer talking after week one, like $70 million. Like those schools can afford to pay those. The buyouts are eventually going to have to get adjusted to better fit this NIL landscape because you're trying to make that money go so much further than it had to go in the past.
Well, look at Kentucky. I mean, look where Mark Stoops is.
Right.
Obviously, things not going in the right direction. Mark Stoops is right at $40 million 45 days after he's let go. I mean, can you let's take NIL out of the equation. Can you find that kind of money in 45 days plus go hire a new staff? You're going to spend what? Close to $100 million to put all that together. I mean, 60
while you're spending $20 million plus on a basketball roster,
and then you've got to spend on your football roster too. I think, that's where the future is going to be pretty fascinating from the standpoint of ADs and agents in the standoff over buyouts. Nobody's going to have this 45-day got to pay it all up front. Like that should have never happened to begin with. But there's no way anybody's ever going to agree to a deal like that where you got to write that big of a check because nobody can afford that in this day and age. I mean, Stanford just got a $50 million gift grant for football only. You say, wow, $50 million. That's 2 years of a roster.
Right.
Some guy made a random donation to allow you to put a team together for 2 years. That's what $50 million is getting you.
It's a starting point. $50 million.
Yeah.
I don't know who Stoops' agent is, but the 45-day thing is incredible. Not only $45 million or whatever the buyout number is, insanely high for what he's done during his time at Kentucky, but 45 days is amazing.
And don't forget when he signed his latest extension, when he was teetering around 9 wins every single year, like he has that escalator too. Every time he hits 9 wins, he gets a raise. Every time he hits 9 wins, he gets a raise. I mean, he has the best contract
have to worry anymore. He doesn't have to worry about that escalator again.
Yeah.
Okay?
I mean, the only person who may have a better contract is Danny White.
That 9-win escalator is like the escalator at McGee Tyson Airport that has never worked for once in its life.
Well, I mean, at the time of the extension, he actually had a good foundation, was doing some things, but I mean, in the 3 years since, I mean, gosh, it's not good enough.
Yeah,
not good enough.
You can't put. I mean, automatic rollovers are risky deals. I mean, particularly for somebody who's. I mean, I get the Rick Barnes. What was that rollover to? Stays at 3 every year.
Stays at 3 years. Yeah.
Okay, that one's doable. But this rollover to everybody's at 5 all the time, and you stay whole, so your buyout never reduces. I mean, most people aren't going from a 10-win season to a 5-win season and getting fired. You typically trickle down, right? But if you're in a deal where your buyout's not dropping very much, that's not good. That's not a that's a very favorable contract for the employee, not the employer.
Speaking of contracts, a couple of football assistant coaching questions. Has Garner signed any extensions? Any concern this is his last year?
Sure. I mean, when he's not signing an extension, I mean, you always have to ponder that type of stuff.
Well, he's also coached 3+ decades in this league. I mean, when does he want to be done? Family considerations. There's all kinds of things that you look out with these guys every year.
I don't think Rodney is getting out of coaching at the end of the year, but at the end of the day, he is on an expiring deal, and he chose not to sign a new deal for whatever reason. That is what it is.
Do you see Joey Halsley being in the running for a lower G5 head coaching job if they have continued success this year?
I mean, I don't know what a lower G5 job is. I don't know where you would consider it. I mean, could he possibly be in the running for one of those? Yeah, but do you want one of those jobs? I mean, I think that's the challenging part is do you want a job that we just sit here and talked about all this money that's needed, and I know that's power forward, but G5's still got to have some money too. How many winning situations are there at that level of football? that you just take one to take one. I mean, I think with what coordinators are getting paid, you can be more patient and selective than you've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, considering how hard those jobs are versus just getting paid 7 figures to be a coordinator,
I could see an AD thinking Heupel worked, Alex Golesh worked, maybe Jolie Halsley's going to work.
Yeah. Is it a job he would consider? Is it a winnable job?
Right.
Would be the question.
Do you think Kelsey Pope has aspirations of being an offensive coordinator sometime soon?
AP, I've never had that conversation with him, so I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't either. That's a great question.
You would assume logically that's his next step. So at some point he's going to want to do that.
But what is soon? Is soon the next 3 years? Is it right now?
That's true.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's not an old guy, so I mean, like, I'm not saying you don't want to take something if you can get it, but I don't think he has to be in a super rush either.
I will say this: his stock is as good as it's ever been because he's recruited well, and those 3 receivers are playing really well right now. He would be a commodity for some people. Maybe not as an OC, just even as a position coach, he would be on some people's radar screen.
The 7 Maximus wants to know, do you all think Seth Littrell will be a permanent member of Heupel's staff? Will he return in 2026? Guys, I would imagine he's going to want to go coach somewhere on, like, quote-unquote, on the field or coordinate or something at some point. He's not going to want to stay in this current role for a long period of time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Seth's pretty content here. Obviously, if the right thing came his way, I think that's possible, but I don't think he's in any kind of big rush to leave either, and I think he'll get paid. He's been getting paid by Oklahoma, but even when that ends, he'll get paid, I think, pretty well to be, Josh's basically assistant head coach or whatever, and you can be on the field now. Like, there's no limit.
Yeah.
Coaches.
I don't know him personally, so like I don't have. Maybe you guys don't have an answer.
I mean, he bought his family moved here, and he bought a house in Sequoia Hills or around that area. Like, you're not doing those things if you're, especially the family moving here. His son's moving here. I don't think you're doing those things if you're just kind of feeling like you're going to be here for 6 months. That's my take. Because, I mean, how many people have you seen, over the last 2 or 3 coaching staffs where their family never moved to town? Jerry Mack's wife never moved here. Walt Wells' wife never moved here. There's countless instances of that. For the wife, the kids, everybody to come to Knoxville, then to buy a house. I mean, you can sell the house tomorrow, right? I mean, I understand that, but I think there's a little more roots there than maybe some people realized.
I just figured he'd have the itch to call plays again.
Yeah, but remember this. I mean, he's what, 3 years removed from being a head coach, so he's scratched that itch. He was an OC at Oklahoma. It didn't work well. He scratched that itch. He's got some money. He should have some money in the bank. Is he much more selective at this point in his life and his career? Hey, I'm looking for some happiness for me and my family for a period of time, and then maybe I'll get back to it. I don't know that, but you wonder, because he's not on the upward trajectory of I got to get a head job. I mean, he's done it.
They're in high school, so I mean, like, let's say I don't know how many years they have left. Maybe sophomores, maybe they got a couple years left. I mean, to your point, I mean, do you want stability to get them through their, important end of high school years?
All right, well, that's 2 more questions here. Vulcan, we'll go first with him. You have Hubs, you got to bet the farm, all right? Who you taking, the SEC or the Big Ten top 2 from each conference, so 4 teams total, or the field? So essentially the top 2 teams from the SEC, Big Ten, those 4 teams, or the field. Who you taking?
To win the title?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm taking the SEC and the Big Ten. No offense. I mean, I like Miami. I think Miami is the only one that will give you some pause in that deal. I mean, I don't think anybody from the Big 12 is ready to win a title. Texas Tech's a solid team, but I don't know that they're there. Miami, yeah, but I mean, if you're asking me 4 versus those 2 teams, I'm probably going to take the SEC or the Big 10 as opposed to just those 2 teams.
I read that question as the top 4 teams from those 2 conferences combined, or anybody else from any other conference, including those 2 conferences. Because I was looking up 2024 Big Ten standings. I think Ohio State finished 4th in the Big Ten, and then they went on a run like crazy in the playoff. Like, I could see that happening again, but maybe that's a one-off because obviously Ohio State was not lacking any talent on that roster last year.
Yeah, Penn State's not going to be in that conversation this year. That's for sure.
Right. But you look at the SEC. I mean,
SEC's not super top heavy, but it's pretty deep across the board.
But if you're sitting there and let's say A&M and Ole Miss play for the SEC championship, they're the top two teams. What do you think the chances are that Alabama could win it, Georgia could win it?
Right.
Somebody else gets in it. So I recount. I take away my answer because I don't understand the question. It's too complicated for me.
I read it and I wanted to go top two because it seemed like the playoff was so chalky last year, and it's just the higher seeded team was going to win. But when you have Ohio State team going on a run, it kind of makes you pause for a second.
Yep.
Last question, 007 Vol. At what point does the NCAA say enough is enough and review all live ball penalties, along with adding more eyes to the field, more referees? The bad OPI against Mississippi State is a good example.
Look, I mean, mistakes are going to happen in officiating, and they're never going to get it right. They happen in the NFL. They happen at all levels. It's an inact science. It's not an exact science. I think you have to be careful with an obsession to get it right. College football games are way too long as it is. I mean, these are 4-hour games. Now, if you want to go to a challenge system where you can review more plays are reviewable, like OPI or some things like that, but you have to throw your challenge flag on it, then that's a different conversation. But just to suddenly make everything a reviewable play, I mean, how many stoppages in play are we going to get? I mean, granted, it's going to be like watching the last 90 seconds of a basketball game that takes 47 minutes to play because we stop and review every possession, clock adjustment, or we're reviewing something every possession, it feels like there. So, I think the next phase of replay for me is do they put in some kind of real challenge system like they have in the NFL? Yeah,
you can't go every single penalty because, like you're talking about, it would just be too long. And it's not just the last 90 seconds of basketball, though. That's the true emphasis. But what's worse than when they're going to the monitors in the opening minute of a basketball game? Like, let's just play basketball.
AP, that William Blount Heritage game would have took 5 hours, man.
Yeah, I would also tell you that if you try to do what Hope was talking about, like they're going to side with what's called on the field because most of the time, like, there is contact there. So they're going to be able to say, well, his hand touched him. So it was technically give him an advantage. So we're going to keep the offensive pass interference, when in reality, like, it's really not, right? But I mean, by the letter of the law on some of these calls, it technically may be able to be justified.
Well, think about that play in particular. The on-the-field officials didn't agree with each other. That's why they had such a long conference there. But they went with what was called on the field because a guy wasn't going to overturn a guy and make him pick up a flag. So, I don't think that was going to change. Again, the human element's the human element, and it's not going to go away ever. You can't take it away in officiating. I don't think there's any way to ever completely remove that part.
Yeah, they went with what was called on the field from the official all the way across the field that made that call. So.
Yes, they didn't have the guts to change it when they could have.
Yeah. Well, and standing where I was standing, I would have told you that official got it right till I saw the replay, and then I was like, "Oh, he missed it."
Yeah, I thought it was OPI live.
Yep, I did too.
Whoops.
I was standing on that side where the official threw the flag, so I was like, "Yeah, that's offensive pass interference." And then they saw the replay, and they're like, "Nope, that's not offensive pass interference. It's not even close."
All right, that's going to do it here for this week's Mailbag Podcast here at Volquest.com. We thank you, as always, for sending in those questions, comments, and concerns. We'll be with you every step of the way up until kickoff, Tennessee and Arkansas, 4:15 at Neyland Stadium. That'll be televised on the SEC Network. Be with you during the game, and, of course, all the reactions you want post-game Saturday nights on into Sunday. And then, hey, next week, getting ready for Tennessee, Alabama, and the third Saturday in October. For Grant Ramey, Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, I am Eric Cain. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Volquest Mailbag Podcast.